Imagine waking up before the world has found its rhythm. The sky is still dim, the air is still cool, and there is a silence that seems to hold its breath just for you. In that quiet moment, before your phone begins to vibrate, before the muse of the day rushes into your mind, before the weight of responsibilities settles on your shoulders, there is a window. A small, sacred window where your heart whispers a question it has been too tired to ask aloud. What if today could be different? What if relief is closer than I think? What if Allah has already prepared a dawn for my darkness, if only I paused long enough to receive it? So many of us wake up and feel the heaviness of yesterday pressing into the new day. Worries that did not dissolve overnight. Concerns that linger. Thoughts that chase us the moment our eyes open. But imagine for a moment beginning your day not with pressure, not with the rush of the dunya pulling you into its race, but with 7 minutes, just 7 minutes of remembrance that resets your entire soul. Imagine letting your heart taste the sweetness of the dhikr before anything else touches it. Imagine starting your morning by reminding yourself that you belong to the one who never sleeps, never forgets you, and never needs you to be perfect, only sincere. If you've ever felt lost, overwhelmed, numb, spiritually distant, or simply tired of the cycle of waking up already drained, then this reminder is for you. Because the truth is, transformation doesn't always begin with grand gestures or major life changes. Sometimes it begins with something as gentle and quiet as 7 minutes of sincere remembrance at dawn. And those 7 minutes can reshape your entire day, your outlook, your mood, your decisions, your reactions, your patience, your gratitude, your hope. They can soften your heart in ways you didn't realize you needed. They can carry you when the world tries to shake you. They can remind you of who you are, and more importantly, who you are returning to. Before we dive deeper, if this message is already touching something inside you, let your support be a form of sadaqah by liking the video, sharing it with someone who may need it, and subscribing so this space becomes part of your journey toward a calmer, more spiritually anchored life. Not as a formality, but as a way of saying, yes, I want to grow. I want to remember. I want my heart to heal. Imagine opening your eyes to a world that hasn't fully awakened yet, where the first breath you take feels like a quiet negotiation between your heart and the day ahead. You lie there for a moment, feeling the softness of the dawn, but also sensing the familiar knot of unspoken worries tightening in your chest. It's the same knot many people carry, sometimes small, sometimes heavy, made of unfinished tasks, unresolved feelings, fears you didn't voice, and hopes you barely dared to keep. The morning can be a mirror, revealing everything you pushed aside the night before. And for many, that mirror is not easy to look into. Some wake up already tired, despite hours of sleep. Some wake up with minds racing faster than their feet can move. Some wake up feeling behind before the day even starts. And some wake up wondering if anything will ever change. But there is a truth we often forget. The first moments of the morning are not meant to be a battlefield. They are not meant to be a replay of yesterday's anxieties. They were designed by Allah as a gentle entrance into a new beginning. A fresh page written with divine mercy. A reminder that whatever burdens you carried into the night did not overpower the one who carried you through it. This is where dhikr enters not as a ritual you rush through, not as a lifeline, as the calming voice in the chaos, as the bridge between your heart and your Creator. 7 minutes. Just 7 minutes where you let your soul breathe, where you unlearn the habit of waking up with stress and relearn the art of waking up with remembrance. In those minutes, you aren't performing for anyone. You aren't meeting expectations. You aren't pretending you're okay when you're not. You're simply returning to the one who always knew exactly what weighed you down. Imagine sitting on the edge of your bed, the morning still gentle around you, and whispering words of remembrance that weren't meant to be loud, but heartfelt. Words that acknowledge the one who restored your soul after sleep, who guarded you while you were unaware, who gave you another chance at life when so many did not rise this morning. Imagine the softness that enters the chest when you simply say, "Oh Allah, thank you for giving me this new day." The relief that pours in when you remember that your story is still being written, and it is being written by the most loving. Morning Dihikr isn't about changing your circumstances instantly. It's about changing the way you enter REM. Before the world demands anything from you, before responsibilities knock at your door, you anchor yourself in the one who controls everything. And suddenly, what once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once felt heavy begins to lift. What once felt confusing begins to make sense in a way logic alone could never explain. There is a beautiful secret hidden in the early hours. The heart is softer at dawn. It absorbs guidance more quickly. It feels pain more honestly. It listens with greater sincerity. That is why those minutes are powerful. Because they allow you to meet your own soul before the world distracts it. They allow you to invite Allah into your day before anything else intrudes. They allow you to say, I am not walking into this morning alone. And when you establish that connection first, everything else aligns differently. Conversations feel lighter. Decisions become clearer. Patience becomes deeper. You begin to notice blessings you used to overlook. You begin to respond instead of reacting. You begin to feel a calm certainty that whatever the day brings, whether joy or challenge, Allah has already given you the strength to face it. Sometimes the transformation you seek does not come through major changes, but through consistent connection. Through those 7 minutes where you simply pause and acknowledge the one who never leaves you. That is the true resetting of the morning. Not the coffee, not the routine, not the inbox, but the remembrance that your heart belongs to Allah, and nothing is too complicated for Him. As you breathe in the early light peace and breathe out the heaviness you've been holding, something subtle begins to shift inside you. You start to trust the morning again. You start to trust yourself again. You start to trust that the one who woke you up today did so with purpose, with wisdom, with tenderness. He granted you another sunrise, not because you earned it, but because He still has blessings to give you, lessons to teach you, and doors He intends to open for you. And perhaps the quietest miracle of all is realizing that those 7 minutes weren't just a practice, they were a gift. A gift that says, with every beat of your heart, Allah has not forgotten you. Allah has not abandoned you. Allah is still guiding you, even in the moments when you cannot see the path clearly. The morning becomes different the moment you begin it with Him. There are days when you wake up and feel as though the world is already leaning against you, pressing its expectations into your shoulders before you even stand. You feel the weight of messages you haven't opened yet, responsibilities you haven't completed yet, and emotions you haven't processed yet. It's almost as if the clock starts ticking the moment your eyes open, reminding you that life is moving whether or not you're ready. But when you bring Dihikr into those opening moments of your morning, you change the entire rhythm of your reality. You slow time down. You reclaim the space that anxiety tries to steal. You tell your heart, gently but firmly, that it has a Lord who is greater than anything waiting for you outside your door. It's amazing how the heart reacts when you start your morning with remembrance. One moment you may feel scattered, unfocused and burdened. Then, with a few soft words spoken sincerely, you feel a subtle warmth settling into your chest. It's a quiet warmth, not dramatic or overwhelming, but steady like a lamp switched on in a dim room. A reminder that even the smallest amount of divine light can illuminate the heaviest darkness. Your mind begins to slow down, your breathing deepens, and your thoughts stop running away from you. It's as if the soul takes your hand and says, come back. You've been wandering too far into the noise. Come back to the one who can hold you. Many people underestimate the power of the early morning. They rush through it without realizing how many answers they missed, how many blessings they overlooked, how much tranquility was available if only they paused for a few moments. The morning is not just the start of the day, it's the spiritual doorway through which your entire day passes. If the doorway is filled with confusion, the day feels chaotic. But if the doorway is filled with remembrance, the day feels different, rooted, guided, protected. You begin to feel like life is not happening to asterisk you, but unfolding asterisk through asterisk you with Allah's mercy guiding each step. Think of the heart like a vessel. When you sleep, some of the dust and heaviness settles at the bottom, waiting to be stirred the moment you wake. And if the first thing you pour into that vessel is stress, everything becomes murky. But if the first thing you pour is remembrance, the vessel clears, the dust settles gently, and you begin the day with clarity rather than confusion. Dehip fills the heart with a purity that cannot be replicated by any worldly routine. It gives your soul something deeper than motivation. It gives it purpose, direction, certainty. There is something profoundly healing about remembering Allah before remembering the world. You shift your focus from the temporary to the eternal. You go from thinking about what you lack to recognizing what you have. You transition from asking, "How will I face today?" to whispering, "Oh Allah, guide me through today." And there is nothing more empowering than walking into your morning with that kind of reliance. It's no longer about your strength alone. It's about His strength guiding yours. Imagine yourself sitting by the window after your morning dihika, watching the sky subtly brighten. You feel a calm you didn't have the night before. Your shoulders feel lighter. Your heart feels awake. You start to realize that your worries are not as large as they seemed, because the one who controls everything is closer than your own thoughts. You begin to feel a quiet confidence rising in you, not arrogance, but trust. Trust that Allah knows what you don't know. Trust that Allah sees what you cannot see. Trust that Allah is already working on the things you've been praying for, even if the signs have not yet appeared. This is the hidden gift of morning remembrance. It teaches you that you do not walk alone. It teaches you that every hardship has a purpose. Every delay has wisdom. Every tear has meaning. And when you wake up with these reminders in your heart, the world doesn't feel as intimidating. The problems don't feel as final. The challenges don't feel as hopeless. You begin to carry yourself differently, not because your heart has become easy, but because your heart has become anchored. And when your heart is anchored, everything else becomes manageable. Morning dihikr is not about escaping reality. It's about facing reality with a heart that is aligned with its creator. It's about stepping into your day with dignity, serenity, and hope. It's about knowing that no matter how unpredictable life may be, you have a source of stability that never changes, a source that waits for you every single dawn, offering peace, clarity, and renewed strength. And the more you taste that peace, the more you crave it, not out of desperation, but out of recognition. Because you begin to understand that nothing in this world can offer you what those few minutes of sincere remembrance offer you. Not comfort, not clarity, not healing, not certainty. The day begins differently when you begin it with Allah. And then there are mornings when you wake up not just with worries, but with a subtle heaviness that you cannot name. Perhaps yesterday left its marks more deeply than you realized, or perhaps life has been quietly wearing at your patience and joy. You open your eyes and everything feels muted, like colors without brightness. The bed feels heavier, the air feels colder, and even the soft hum of the world outside your window seems distant. In moments like these, it's easy to convince yourself that nothing will change, that the day will only mirror your inner gloom. But that is precisely when the morning dihikr becomes most powerful. Because it doesn't ask for your strength, it asks only for your sincerity. You see, sincerity doesn't require perfection. It doesn't demand eloquence or mastery. It only asks that you bring your heart honestly before Allah in whatever state it finds itself. You might be exhausted, distracted, anxious, or grieving. You might feel small, overwhelmed, or inadequate. And yet, when you whisper remembrance into the quiet morning air, your soul begins to shift, even if it is just a single line repeated, a gentle reminder of Allah's mercy. It acts like water on dry soil. Slowly, softly, it revives what seemed lifeless. You begin to feel a warmth inside, a reassurance that the heaviness is not permanent, that guidance is available, that relief has already been written for you even before you walk. There is a kind of intimacy in morning dihika that the rest of the day rarely offers. The world has not yet demanded your attention. Your mind is not yet cluttered with tasks, notifications, or expectations. In this precious pocket of time, you can speak freely to Allah without shame, without needing to impress anyone, including yourself. And when you do, even for 7 minutes, you discover a truth that transforms everything. The heart that remembers its Creator is never truly alone, even when everything else feels uncertain or chaotic. Consider for a moment the miracle of those 7 minutes. That is all it takes to realign the heart, to refocus the mind, and to nurture a calm resilience that carries through the day. Imagine your mind like a turbulent sea, waves tossing every thought around uncontrollably. Dihika is like the gentle anchor, quietly holding you steady, reminding you that beneath the chaos there is depth, and beneath the waves there is stillness. With each repeated word, each whispered invocation, your heart finds its rhythm, your worries become lighter, and your inner storm begins to calm. You begin to realize that anxiety, though loud, is not stronger than the mercy of your Lord. And as the 7 minutes pass, you begin to notice the subtle changes in how you see the world. The sunlight feels gentler, the air feels fresher, your body feels more present, less like a vessel dragged by tension. You find yourself smiling softly at small things, moments you may have overlooked yesterday, the chirping of birds, the quiet hum of life beginning anew. You begin to understand that the rhythm of the day is not dictated solely by what happens to you, but by how you start it. The morning becomes not a race to survive, but an opportunity to align your soul with divine grace. Even the simplest moments afterward carry a new depth. Eating your breakfast, washing your face, stepping out the door, everything seems subtly different. You move with more intention, speak with more patience, react with more awareness. Problems are still there, yes, but they no longer dominate your mind. Decisions are still necessary, yes, but they no longer feel like unbearable weights. The world continues as it always does, but you are no longer moving through it as a passive passenger. You are awake in body and heart, guided by the gentle light of remembrance, supported by a presence that is constant, reliable, unshakable. And in these moments, something remarkable happens without fanfare. Your heart begins to long for more connection, more reflection, more surrender. You realize that those 7 minutes were not merely a ritual, but a key to a profound transformation. They awaken a desire to carry this awareness through the rest of the day. They plant a seed that whispers, asterisk, even in chaos, there is peace. Even in uncertainty, there is guidance. Even in heaviness, there is mercy. Asterisk, so you rise from your morning dihika, not just physically, but spiritually. You step into the day with a subtle confidence, a quiet resilience, and a gentle gratitude that colors every action. The world may still test you, but you have found the secret of how to face it, not through force, not through control, but through remembrance, surrender, and trust. And this is only the beginning. The practice of morning dihika, even in 7 minutes, has the power to shift not just one day, but the trajectory of your soul over a lifetime. As you continue this journey, you begin to see mornings differently. No longer as obligations, no longer as empty routines, but as sacred opportunities, small, intimate gifts from Allah, waiting for you to receive them. Every day is a chance to meet your Creator before the world meets you. Every day is a chance to soften your heart, strengthen your spirit, and begin again. And each day as you repeat this practice, you realize that your life can be transformed not through the loud achievements the world praises, but through the quiet devotion the heart craves. The journey of these 7 minutes is not just about peace, it is about awakening. Awakening to Allah's presence, to your own inner strength, and to the profound beauty of beginning each day with intention. And this awakening naturally leads us to the next reflection, how remembering Allah at dawn protects our hearts, not just from worries, but from the draining influence of people expectations, and the chaos of relationships. As the morning continues to unfold, you begin to realize that it's not only your own worries that weigh you down. It is also the world outside, people, expectations, opinions, and the subtle pressures that accumulate without us even noticing. Family, friends, colleagues, neighbors all bring their own energy, consciously or unconsciously. And when your heart is unanchored, when your soul hasn't tasted the calm of remembrance, these external pressures can feel overwhelming. Conversations can sting more than they should. Criticism can pierce deeper than it merits. Responsibilities can feel like chains rather than trusts. But when your morning begins with dhikr, the heart is anchored. It becomes a shield, soft yet strong, capable of facing the world with dignity and serenity. Imagine the interactions of your day as a stream of water. When you are spiritually grounded, you wade through it with ease. The current does not sweep you away. Your patience stretches wider than before. Your reactions become deliberate instead of reactive. Someone cuts you off, and instead of your blood rushing with anger, your mind pauses. You remember that Allah has created every soul with its own path, every action with its own wisdom, and that your dignity is yours to preserve. In these moments, the simple act of recalling Allah in the early hours, guilt can replace you a subtle authority over your emotions, a quiet mastery that no worldly skill can replace. People may still act unjustly. Circumstances may still be unfair. Yet the one who begins their morning with remembrance learns a profound lesson. You do not need to carry the world on your shoulders. You do not need to please everyone. You do not need to absorb every grievance. When your heart is grounded in Allah, you begin to release the heavy expectations that are not yours to bear. You understand that others' opinions, judgments, and disappointments are transient, but the state of your soul is eternal. And so, each morning dhikr becomes a practice not just of devotion, but of self-preservation, teaching you to navigate human interactions with balance, empathy, and wisdom. Consider the subtle but powerful effect this has on your relationships. When your heart is refreshed with remembrance, you notice that you are calmer, more attentive, more present. You listen instead of reacting. You respond instead of lashing out. The ones you love feel it. They notice your patience, your gentleness, your steadiness. You are no longer merely part of the current, being pushed by every mood and comment. Instead, you are rooted, and your rootedness becomes a source of quiet inspiration for those around you. You begin to understand that dhikr is not only for your private solace, it radiates outward, shaping the way the world experiences you. Even more importantly, this practice helps you guard against the exhaustion that comes from trying to meet impossible expectations. The morning begins as a sacred reset, reminding you that you are not defined by the judgments of others, the pressures of the workplace, or the endless cycle of obligations. You are defined by your relationship with Allah. And when you carry that understanding into the world, everything else begins to lose its power to drain you. People can still act unfairly. The world can still challenge you. But your spirit is no longer a fragile vessel. It is a fortress of quiet remembrance, ready to face what comes without being broken. Think of the subtle joy that comes from this awareness. The peace of knowing that while you cannot control every person, every word, every circumstance, you can control where your heart rests, whom it obeys, and whose guidance it follows. And the more consistent your morning dhikr, the more natural this balance becomes. You start noticing patterns. Moments that once would have triggered frustration now pass with ease. Conversations that once left you depleted now leave you empowered. Your energy becomes protected not through avoidance, but through alignment with the one who sustains all energy, all strength, all hearts. And there is a deeper spiritual dimension to this. The more you anchor yourself in remembrance, the more you begin to see people as vessels, like yourself, flawed, seeking, yearning for guidance. Your perspective shifts. Irritation softens into compassion. Disappointment turns into patience. Judgment is replaced by understanding. Your interactions cease to feel like battles and begin to feel like opportunities to practice mercy, reflection, and self-control. You learn that even the difficulties people present can become tools for your own spiritual growth if you start your day with the proper grounding. Morning Daikar thus becomes a sanctuary, a spiritual preparation that equips you for every conversation, every challenge, every interaction. You discover that 7 minutes of intentional remembrance can transform the way you carry yourself through hours of human noise. The heart that rises in remembrance does not absorb chaos. It filters it, processes it, and responds from a place of wisdom rather than impulse. The day's relationships, both the joyful and the difficult, become reflections of your inner state. And when that state is anchored in Allah, the world begins to feel less threatening, less overwhelming, and more manageable. This is the subtle, powerful miracle of morning Daihikr. It shields you, Talvin. It shields your heart. It strengthens your responses, and it equips you to navigate people and pressures with spiritual intelligence. It doesn't promise that the world will always be easy, but it guarantees that your soul will meet it with strength, clarity, and calm, and no longer reacts immediately to external turbulence. Instead, it recalls the one who anchors it, and in that remembrance, you discover serenity. And now, as we begin to reflect on the final layer of daily challenges, the relentless pull of routines, responsibilities, and the push for productivity, you will see how morning Daihikr transforms the ordinary flow of life into something extraordinary. It is not merely about peace, it is about clarity, direction, and divine alignment for every action you take. As the day stretches ahead, it is easy to get swept into routines that feel mechanical, exhausting, and endless. The alarm clock, the commute, the deadlines, the meetings, they all create a rhythm that can make life feel like a conveyor belt, moving forward whether your heart is ready or not. We often forget that productivity without presence is emptiness. We fill our hours with tasks and achievements, yet at the end of the day, the soul whispers, asterisk, was I here? Did I live this day fully? Did I remember my Lord? Asterisk, this is where the quiet power of morning Daihikr transforms ordinary routines into acts of worship, turning every action into an opportunity to remain spiritually awake amidst worldly demands. Imagine beginning your day with those 7 minutes of Daihikr and then stepping into the workday with a heart already anchored in Allah. Suddenly, the tasks that once felt overwhelming are approached with focus rather than panic. The emails and responsibilities no longer feel like chains, but like instruments through which you can exercise patience, mindfulness, and integrity. Even mundane chores, when preceded by sincere remembrance, carry weight and purpose. You begin to understand that your efforts are not meaningless, they are an extension of your intention, a chance to embody your faith in the real, messy, demanding world. There is a subtle discipline that emerges from this practice. By dedicating a small pocket of time at the start of the day to Allah, you train your mind and heart to resist the chaos of distraction. You notice how small irritations no longer derail you. You see how the rush of tasks no longer steals your presence. You begin to operate from a place of intentionality, rather than habit or compulsion. And as days accumulate, this intention becomes a natural rhythm, a quiet undercurrent that shapes your reactions, your focus, and even your ambitions. You start to realize that the 7 minutes of Daihikr at dawn are not just a ritual, they are the anchor for every decision, every word, every interaction that follows. Consider the mental clarity that arises from this practice. When the mind is cluttered with anxiety, stress, or scattered thoughts, productivity is shallow. Tasks take longer. Decisions feel heavier. Energy drains quickly. But after morning Daihikr, the mind seems to breathe. Thoughts are no longer tangled in fear or doubt. The heart's compass is aligned, and even the most mundane routines, cleaning, cooking, commuting, working, begin to carry an almost meditative quality. You move with awareness. You speak with intention. You live with presence. The day is no longer merely survived, it is experienced consciously, with spiritual grounding infusing every moment. And as you progress through the hours, you may notice a subtle but profound transformation in how you perceive challenges. A sudden demand at work no longer feels like an insurmountable obstacle. A disagreement with a colleague does not shatter your patience. The pile of responsibilities that used to intimidate you now feels manageable, because you have already strengthened your heart before the day's trials even arrived. Morning Daika functions as a spiritual preemptive strike. It fortifies your soul against the weariness, the stress, and the unexpected chaos of daily life. By the time the world attempts to pull you off balance, you have already anchored yourself in something greater than the day's turbulence. There is also a deeper layer to this transformation, the development of gratitude and perspective. As you pause for remembrance, your heart remembers the countless blessings often overlooked: the breath in your lungs, the roof over your head, the chance to work, to learn, to interact, to grow. Your routines, which once felt like monotonous chains, begin to reveal themselves as avenues of blessing. Even challenges, setbacks, and delays start to carry wisdom. You realize that every routine, no matter how repetitive, is an opportunity to exercise faith, patience, and reliance on Allah. Each act, no matter how small, becomes a potential form of worship when the heart is aligned with its Creator. And when evening comes, when the day's tasks are done, and you reflect on the hours that have passed, you notice that the subtle serenity from those morning minutes persists. The worries are not gone. The work is not over. The responsibilities are not fewer, but your perspective has shifted. You have carried your heart through the day in a state of remembrance. You have walked through chaos with calm. You have responded to life's demands with intentionality rather than reaction. You have transformed the ordinary into the sacred. This is the profound miracle of 7 minutes of morning dahikar. It shapes not just how you start your day, but how you live it. It creates a rhythm where productivity, presence, and spirituality coexist. It turns your routines from burdens into opportunities for growth, patience, and reflection. And it prepares you for the deeper truths that follow those eternal reflections that anchor not just your day, but your soul in the trust, mercy, and wisdom of Allah. As we move to the next chapter, we leave the temporal pressures behind and step into the spiritual realm, the awakening that comes from surrender, trust, and the recognition of Allah's divine plan. This is where the heart learns to rest, even in the uncertainty of life, and where remembrance becomes more than a practice, it becomes a lifeline for the soul. When the soul begins to awaken beyond the demands of daily life, it starts to notice a profound truth. Everything in this world, no matter how overwhelming it may seem, is temporary. The worries that consumed you yesterday, the pressures that chased you this morning, the frustrations that crowded your mind, all of it will pass. Yet so often we allow the temporary to dominate our hearts, forgetting that the eternal is closer than our next breath. Morning Dehika acts as a gentle reminder of this reality. It reconnects the heart with its true purpose and whispers softly but insistently that the one who created the heavens and the earth is also attending to the details of your life, even the ones you do not understand. Trust in Allah is not merely a concept, it is a practice, and it begins with small acts like remembrance before the day's chaos takes hold. Imagine starting your day acknowledging that Allah already knows what you will face, that He has already written relief for your difficulties, and that He has designed your path with wisdom far beyond what your eyes can see. To remind yourself of this in the early hours is to gift your heart with certainty, a certainty that carries you through every trial without panic or despair. The heart anchored in such trust is unshakable, even when the world around it seems to crumble. There is a subtle but powerful shift that occurs when the morning begins with remembrance. You start to see life differently. Challenges no longer appear as insurmountable walls, but as opportunities for growth, patience, and reflection. The disappointments that once felt crushing become lessons carefully placed along your journey. The injustices that once stirred anger now become reminders to leave matters in the hands of the one who judges with absolute justice. When the heart is steeped in dihikr, it begins to perceive reality through a lens of divine wisdom, and the burdens of life start to feel lighter, not because the circumstances have changed, but because your perspective has. Consider the profound peace that accompanies this realization. To know that Allah is watching, guiding, and sustaining you transforms fear into courage. It transforms anxiety into reliance. It transforms hopelessness into expectation. Even in the moments when the world feels unstable, you are anchored to a stability that never falters. The heart that remembers Allah in the quiet of dawn does not simply survive the day it rises above it with serenity. The soul learns that true security is not in wealth, status, or approval, but in connection with the one who created it, nourishes it, and has promised never to abandon it. This awakening also reshapes the way you relate to time itself. Hours are no longer measured merely by tasks completed or deadlines met. Every moment becomes an opportunity to act with intention, to speak with sincerity, and to align your actions with a higher purpose. Life becomes a tapestry woven with both the temporal and the eternal. And the thread that holds it together, subtle yet strong, is remembrance. When you start your day by acknowledging Allah, you carry a part of eternity into each passing minute. You begin to live in a state of spiritual awareness that elevates your existence beyond mere survival. Even the quietest, simplest acts take on new meaning. Pouring a cup of tea, walking to work, tending to family, completing tasks all become infused with purpose. The mind becomes alert to blessings once unnoticed, the heart becomes more grateful, and the spirit becomes more resilient. In this way, morning Daiheka not only transforms your perspective but transforms the way you inhabit your life, connecting every small action to something infinitely larger. You start to realize that the divine plan is unfolding precisely as it should, and your role is not to control but to participate with awareness, patience, and faith. And as this trust deepens, you feel a serenity that cannot be shaken by setbacks, criticism, or uncertainty. You begin to understand that what is meant for you will reach you, and what is not will be lifted away without harm. Life's trials no longer feel like personal attacks, but as calibrated moments of growth orchestrated by a wisdom far beyond comprehension. The heart, nourished by Daihika, no longer clings desperately to outcomes. It rests in surrender, confident that Allah's plan is flawless, encompassing mercy, justice, and guidance. This awakening prepares the soul for a perspective that stretches beyond the temporary into the eternal. It instills a longing for a reality where time, stress, and suffering are no longer constraints, a longing for the afterlife, where the soul is rewarded for every sincere act, every whispered remembrance, and every struggle endured with patience. The morning practice, seemingly small, begins to shape not just the day, but the direction of the heart toward its ultimate return. Each sunrise becomes a rehearsal for the day we will meet our Lord, each act of remembrance a soft preparation for the permanence of the hereafter. And it is here, in this quiet, awakened space of trust, surrender, and perspective, that the final chapter begins, the chapter of seeing life through the lens of divine plan, mercy, and eternal hope. From the worries of daily life, to the pressures of people, to the monotony used to, and rise above with the knowledge that nothing is beyond His care. As the soul embraces this awakening, a remarkable clarity begins to unfold. Life is not random, and your experiences are not meaningless. Every hardship, every joy, every unexpected turn has been placed with purpose by the Most Wise. And when you remind yourself of this in the early hours of the morning, when the world is still quiet and your heart is soft, a deep peace emerges, a trust so profound that even uncertainty no longer feels threatening. It is in these moments of Daihika that the soul begins to see life not as a divinely guided journey to navigate with patience, gratitude, and hope. Consider the truth that many overlook. Every trial you face, every tear you shed, every challenge that seems insurmountable is part of a grand design that your limited mind cannot fully comprehend. Morning remembrance trains the heart to submit to this design, to release the illusion of total control, and to trust the hand that holds the universe. You begin to sense that what seems like a delay may be protection, what seems like a loss may be a hidden gain, and what seems like an obstacle may be a blessing in disguise. With this perspective, life's hardships no longer crush the spirit, they refine it. They teach patience, humility, resilience, and reliance upon Allah. And as this realization deepens, the heart softens in a way that nothing else can achieve. You begin to forgive more easily, not for the sake of others, but for your own peace. You let go of grudges and resentments, understanding that holding on only weighs you down, while Allah's justice is perfect and complete. You approach interactions with gentleness, conversations with mindfulness, and choices with wisdom, knowing that every moment is part of a divine plan, every encounter an opportunity to grow, every decision a reflection of your inner alignment with the Creator. Morning dhikr also cultivates a consciousness of eternity. The soul begins to recognize that this world is temporary and that true permanence lies in the hereafter. Even as you navigate the responsibilities, joys and trials of the day, there is a steady awareness that nothing compares to the nearness of Allah and the promise of eternal reward. The mundane is no longer meaningless. The ordinary is no longer empty. Each action, whether a kind word, a sincere prayer, or a moment of patience, is imbued with significance beyond what the eye can see. Your life begins to feel purposeful. Your heart finds rest in divine wisdom, and even ordinary mornings become sacred opportunities to align with eternal truths. There is a beauty in understanding that your journey is not solitary. Allah, the Most Merciful, walks with you every step, guiding, sustaining, and enveloping you in His infinite care. Morning dhikr trains the heart to feel that presence tangibly, to anchor trust in it before the world's distractions claim your attention. And as trust strengthens, fear diminishes, anxiety softens, and hope flourishes. You start to approach life with the calm courage of someone who knows that no matter what unfolds, the one who governs all things is perfectly capable of handling every detail, seen or unseen. Even your inner dialogue begins to transform. Thoughts that once spiraled into doubt, frustration, or despair now find gentle redirection. A whisper of remembrance interrupts negativity. Allah is with me. Allah knows what is best. Allah's plan is flawless. And these words, simple yet profound, ripple through your consciousness, reshaping your perspective, softening your responses, and giving your spirit a resilience that is impossible to achieve through worldly means alone. The heart becomes a sanctuary of peace, even amidst life's storms. As days turn into weeks and weeks into months, this practice compounds its effect. The soul becomes naturally attuned to Allah's guidance. Challenges no longer provoke panic, disappointments no longer cause despair. You begin to live each day, not merely reacting to circumstances, but consciously walking within divine wisdom. Your mornings, once rushed and chaotic, now serve as sacred training grounds for patience, trust, and eternal awareness. And this ultimately is the transformative power of 7 minutes of dhikr, a practice so small in time, yet so immense in impact, capable of reshaping a life from the inside out. And finally, as you carry this awareness through each sunrise and sunset, a serene truth settles in your heart. Allah's plan is flawless, His mercy is infinite, and every moment, no matter how challenging or mundane, is a chance to return to. Morning dhikr is not just a habit, it is the key that unlocks the soul's alignment with divine wisdom, the light that illuminates the path through daily struggles, and the anchor that keeps your heart steady in both temporal trials and eternal reflections. It is, in every sense, a transformation waiting to be lived. This is where our reminder reaches its culmination. From the worries of the mind, the pressures of people, the weight of routines, to the awakening of trust, surrender, and internal perspective, morning dhikr becomes the thread that weaves peace, purpose, and divine connection into every fiber of your day. 7 minutes, and yet a lifetime of transformation begins. Would you like me to now compile a final closing sequence that gently ties all 5 chapters together into a cinematic, reflective ending for the script? As the soul embraces this awakening, a remarkable clarity begins to unfold. Life is not random, and your experiences are not meaningless. Every hardship, every joy, every unexpected turn has been placed with purpose by the Most Wise. And when you remind yourself of this in the early hours of the morning, when the world is still quiet and your heart is soft, a deep peace emerges, a trust so profound that even uncertainty no longer feels threatening. It is in these moments of dhikr that the soul begins to see life not as a series of burdens to endure, but as a divinely guided patience, gratitude, and hope. Consider the truth that many overlook. Every trial you face, every tear you shed, every challenge that seems insurmountable is part of a grand design that your limited mind cannot fully comprehend. Morning remembrance trains the heart to submit to this design, to release the illusion of total control, and to trust the hand that holds the universe. You begin to sense that what seems like a delay may be protection, what seems like a loss may be a hidden gain, and what seems like an obstacle may be a blessing in disguise. With this perspective, life's hardships no longer crush the spirit, they refine it. They teach patience, humility, resilience, and reliance upon Allah. And as this realization deepens, the heart softens in a way that nothing else can achieve. You begin to forgive more easily, not for the sake of others, but for your own peace. You let go of grudges and resentments, understanding that holding on only weighs you down, while Allah's justice is perfect and complete. You approach interactions with gentleness, conversations with mindfulness, and choices with wisdom, knowing that every moment is part of a divine plan, every encounter an opportunity to grow, every decision a reflection of your inner alignment with the Creator. Morning dhikr also cultivates a consciousness of eternity. The soul begins to recognize that this world is temporary and that true permanence lies in the hereafter. Even as you navigate the responsibilities, joys, and trials of the day, there is a steady awareness that nothing compares to the nearness of Allah and the promise of eternal reward. The mundane is no longer meaningless. The ordinary is no longer empty. Each action, whether a kind word, a sincere prayer, or a moment of patience, is imbued with significance beyond what the eye can see. Your life begins to feel purposeful. Your heart finds rest in divine wisdom, and even ordinary mornings become sacred opportunities to align with eternal truths. There is a beauty in understanding that your journey is not solitary. Allah, the most merciful, walks with you every step, guiding, sustaining, and enveloping you in His infinite care. Morning dhikr trains the heart to feel that presence tangibly, to anchor trust in it before the world's distractions claim your attention. And as trust strengthens, fear diminishes, anxiety softens, and hope flourishes. You start to approach life with the calm courage of someone who knows that no matter what unfolds, the one who governs all things is perfectly capable of handling every detail, seen or unseen. Even your inner dialogue begins to transform. Thoughts that once spiraled into doubt, frustration, or despair now find gentle redirection. A whisper of remembrance interrupts negativity. Allah is with me. Allah knows what is best. Allah's plan is flawless. And these words, simple yet profound, ripple through your consciousness, reshaping your perspective, softening your responses, and giving your spirit a resilience that is impossible to achieve through worldly means alone. The heart becomes a sanctuary of peace, even amidst life's storms. As days turn into weeks and weeks into months, this practice compounds its effect. The soul becomes naturally attuned to Allah's guidance. Challenges no longer provoke panic, disappointments no longer cause despair. You begin to live each day not merely reacting to circumstances, but consciously walking within divine wisdom. Your mornings, once rushed and chaotic, now serve as sacred training grounds for patience, trust, and eternal awareness. And this ultimately is the transformative power of 7 minutes of dhikr, a practice so small in time, yet so immense in impact, capable of reshaping a life from the inside out. And finally, as you carry this awareness, when truth settles in your heart, Allah's plan is flawless, His mercy is infinite, and every moment, no matter how challenging or mundane, is a chance to return to Him. Morning dhikr is not just a habit, it is the key that unlocks the soul's alignment with divine wisdom, the light that illuminates the path through daily struggles, and the anchor that keeps your heart steady in both temporal trials and eternal reflections. It is, in every sense, a transformation waiting to be lived. This is where our reminder reaches its culmination. From the worries of the mind, the pressures of people, the weight of routines, to the awakening of trust, surrender, an eternal perspective. Morning dhikr becomes the thread that weaves peace, purpose, and divine connection into every fiber of your day. 7 minutes, and yet a lifetime of transformation begins. As the sun rises and casts its first gentle light across the world, your heart carries with it a quiet transformation. The worries that once felt overwhelming, the pressures of people and expectations, the endless rhythm of routines, they are no longer chains, but reminders of the guidance, mercy, and wisdom that flow from Allah into every aspect of your life. Morning dhikr has become more than a practice, it has become the heartbeat of your day, directions, and your perspective on the world. You begin to realize that 7 minutes of intentional remembrance carries within it the power to change not just your morning, but your entire life. The journey we explored together moves from the personal struggles that weigh on the heart, to the influence of others that challenge our patience, to the monotony and demands of daily routines, and finally to the awakening of trust and surrender in the divine plan. Each chapter unfolds naturally into the next, showing that transformation is not sudden, but gradual build to moments of sincerity, reflection, and conscious connection with Allah. It is in these small, deliberate pauses that the heart finds its anchor, and the soul begins to navigate life with clarity, courage, and serenity. As you carry this practice forward, remember that the world may continue to challenge you, circumstances may continue to test you, and people may continue to push your patience. Yet the morning daihikr you offer, consistently and sincerely, equips you with a resilience that no trial can break. It teaches your heart to rest in Allah's mercy, to seek His guidance before the day's distractions consume you, and to act with purpose rather than reaction. It reminds you that your strength is not limited to what you can muster alone, but multiplied by the presence of the one who never sleeps, never forgets, and never forsakes you. And there is a gentle beauty in this realization, that even the smallest acts of remembrance ripple outward. Your patience inspires those around you. Your calm steadiness shapes the energy of your home, your workplace, your relationships. Your perspective, rooted in trust and surrender, transforms challenges into opportunities for growth. What begins in the quiet of a 7-minute practice blooms across the hours of your day, subtly reshaping your entire life into a reflection of divine alignment, intentional living, and heartfelt devotion. So as you rise tomorrow and the day begins anew, carry these moments with you. Sit quietly, breathe deliberately, and offer your heart in sincere remembrance. Whisper words of gratitude, seek His guidance, and remember that even before the world stirs, your soul is already held by mercy. Let this practice remind you that the day ahead is not yours to control, but your heart is yours to guard. The one who orchestrates the heavens and the earth also orchestrates your path, and every moment of sincere daihikr draws you closer to that truth. Morning daihikr is not simply a ritual, it is a lifeline, a compass, and a source of transformation. It turns ordinary days into sacred journeys, mundane routines into acts of worship, and fleeting moments into eternal significance. Through these minutes, the heart awakens, the soul strengthens, and the life you live begins to mirror the peace, clarity, and purpose that only remembrance of Allah can bring. It is a gift, a discipline, a blessing small in time, immense in impact. And so, with each sunrise, with each breath, with each whispered word of daihikr, you are invited to live fully awake, aware of Allah's presence, trusting in His plan, embracing the mercy He pours upon you, and walking through life not burdened by worry, distraction, or fear, but carried gently, steadily, and beautifully by the one who knows you best. This is the promise, the practice, and the gift of morning daihikr, a transformation waiting patiently and lovingly for your heart to embrace it. Your mornings, your days, your life can all begin anew, 7 minutes at a time.